Hello, everyone. Today we got episode 7 of the Afterburn podcast. I'm excited because today we're doing our first ever right after the major podcast since we started this. So it's a really exciting one because there's lots of good things to talk about. We're on a high of a NA win. And yeah, so we're just going to basically go over the whole major. We're going to go through Swiss playoff bracket, and then we're going to slightly go over roster changes we think maybe some teams should go through after looking at the majors. So we have our lovely co-hosts and
Yeah. Well, I'm Daniel. You covered this, Hey, Blink, how you doing?
Good. Really excited. Really good major, in my opinion. Really fun to watch. So yeah, it was a great event.
Yeah, so we'll start with, we're going to talk about the Swiss result to go, and I think Swiss was good. I definitely think there was a lot of excitement in the Swiss, a lot of upsets, some teams that came out of nowhere definitely that I never thought would make it into the top 8, and overall exciting Swiss. Some teams stunk and some teams were really good, so I thought it was pretty good. I think to start off with me, the biggest shock to me was obviously Team Secret going at 3-1. I personally thought they would never make top 8, so the fact they did it, and they also did it as a 3-1 instead of like a 3-2, I think, impressive to them, and they're definitely better, way better than I thought they were, so I'll give them props and credit to that.
Yeah, they were kind of like a defensive powerhouse, honestly. It was really weird watching them play. I don't know, they just were able to make teams look like they didn't have a great offense, and it was pretty cool. And they were just able to counterattack so easily. Sad, and honestly, KV1 in particular were playing really well. I think when they entered the playoff bracket, they were not playing as great. At least after the quarterfinals, but they definitely were a really interesting team to see. And
I'm surprised they got top
Sam
4
always
as
shows
well.
up, I guess.
Yeah, I don't
top
think many people had them even making out of Swiss, and here they are with the top 4 finish at the major.
Everyone was so high on the club. The club was the team from Sam that was going to be the one to get top 8 and replace Fury. It ended up being Team Secret instead. So I'm sure Jorby will be salivating over Team Secret now for the rest of the year.
100%.
Yeah, the club actually did more to what I expected them to do, and they went 1-3. But
yeah, no, that one's weird because I feel like Lost is supposed to be this really good player, and then especially I heard Bams is actually an up and coming player as well. So it's weird that they didn't do as hot. But did they have a harder schedule? Not really,
they
right?
They played a lot of similar teams to Team Secret, and they just lost to them. So there's really Team Secret was just better at this event than the club was.
Yeah, I guess you just always have one Sam team show up and do really well. Maybe that's gonna be the pattern going forward.
And then Secret will be the team to move to NA at the start of next season. I think that once Worlds ends, they'll move over because that just seems to be the trend. Number 1 Sam team moves to NA at the end, and then it just keeps on repeating.
Yeah, we'll have to see how the rest of the season goes for Sam, though.
That's a foresight. But
typically, Falcons are the ones who make it past the Swiss stage as a surprise, but here they are coming 1-3, losing to SSG, GenG, and G2, which are arguably tough opponents, but you have to keep in mind that G2 and SSG are also out in the Swiss stage.
So if anything, it was a weak Swiss they had, and they still lost. But apparently Falcons, I know Blink was saying they allegedly weren't scrimming as much or something going to this major, which could be why they had a poor performance. I mean, if you're not scrimming, you won't be in top shape. And I think, especially at these lanes with how fierce the competition is, if you're not in top shape, you're just not even going to make top 8. I think it's very apparent now.
Oh yeah, we were seeing the hard work meta start to evolve, and I think I heard that Falcons missed 5 scrims against Oxygen Esports, and were late to every other one that they attended. So I heard they were just pretty bad with practice. I don't know what's going on with that team. Yeah, I think obviously I think if we had Rule 1 here, they had a decent chance of making top 8. But yeah, I guess Falcons just played better this split. We'll see. Maybe Rule 1 next split. That could be cool.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that Mina only has one team because we saw it with Sam where sometimes your 1 seed just isn't your best seed when it comes to the international major. So I think this paints a worse picture on the MENA region strength than it should. Unfortunately, it's only because they got to send 1 seed. So I wouldn't count the MENA region out yet as being bad. I think they just had a unlucky split, and also they can only send 1 team, not 2. So they definitely have the depth. Their second team could have came and made top 8 or top 4 for all we know, like Team Secret did. But it's unfortunate they only have 1 spot.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, let's look at the other notable results in the Swiss
NA
stage.
and EU spice.
Yeah. So
I
a
guess
couple interesting
yeah.
ones there, right? Especially the most notable result is Power 3-0 G2. I think that's like by far the biggest surprise that we saw on this Swiss stage.
That was a surprise for sure. I saw that. I'm like, okay, guys, like, what GT, what
Like,
are you doing? Like, you should not be losing 3-0 to Power. I don't care what kind of form they're in. Like, you should be beating this team no matter what. So yeah, that was kind of a shocker.
Yeah, G2 obviously they went 2-3, just lost out to Moist in Game 5, and Moist ended up making it to the finals. So you can say what you want, but at the end of the day, I think there's really not that much excuse for G2. Their bracket wasn't like overly hard. They got 3-0'd by Power. So, and if they beat Power, they probably make top 8. But I think G2 just like I did watch quite a few games of G2. They looked okay in the Falcons series, but I think Falcons weren't playing well. So I don't know if that's really saying that much this kind of like Swiss stage.
Yep.
But overall, I think G2 is just kind of lackluster, in my opinion. I thought JNaps was playing fine for JNaps, like he was playing average. I thought Atomic was below his own standard for himself, and then I didn't really notice Chicago doing much of anything on the pitch at all. He didn't really look like himself at all. They just kind of, other than JNaps, they all just kind of seemed off, like really off, and I think it just showed in their play. And I mean, it's always a classic thing for G2, but they don't have defense. If you watch their goals back, a lot of their goals are just the nets are empty.
Mad.
It's ghost. Like I don't know if it's like a coaching like rotational. It must be like a play style issue or what it is, but they're not a net for defense. I know the players themselves can be good defensively if they're back in net, but they're just not there. The net's wide open. It's really
I mean, it's been a meme for like 3 to 4, 5, maybe even 5 years. They had this issue even with Rizzo. Like,
yeah.
I'm not sure what the problem is with that.
They cleaned it up too, right? Their defense was not like bad. They had a good defense, at least like for most of last season, I feel like. But like, man, I was just watching them play like Moist, and I was like, every single goal, like they should have beat Moist. In my opinion, they should have beat Moist.
They had good
offense.
offense.
Yes, Astral. Yeah, they were playing their offense. Like they were definitely playing better in the second half of the major. But I think that they just like, I don't know, their defense was all over the place. I think that they were just leaving one man on defense like way too often, and that one man, like I don't think any players on G2 really can like do well in a 1v1 on defense, because none of them play ones and all, and don't have like that mechanical experience. Even Atomic, like he's able to get those, like when he's peaking, he's able to get those goal line saves and be crazy. But I don't know, I feel like he's gotten worse, to be honest. I don't know what's going on, if it's like land jitters still, like if he's not just a land player, or if he's gotten worse because maybe that's a play style of G2, or if he's, I don't know, if he's just like not playing the game that much. It's just it was honestly like just annoying to watch them play, because they do so well on offense, and then you just like see them like one person on like back on defense, and then you just know that they're getting scored on. Like you don't have to watch. Like it was just like 50% chance that if they were one person on defense, they were getting scored on. Like it's that bad.
It was that bad. Like you look at other teams, at least the top teams, their defense is so good. Like if you look at GenG, even like FaZe Clan, TL, Moist, all those guys' defense is so good. They always have like 2 guys back. They're doing goal line saves. Like it's really hard to score on them. It has to be perfect. G2's like their last guy back isn't even challenging on the goal line. He's challenging like at an awkward angle upwards, and the ball's just going in the net because they don't have anyone even in the net. The other 2 players are like down the field doing, I don't even know, grabbing boost or something, but it's just a really weird sight. It's definitely an issue they've had, so I don't know if it's a Chicago JNaps issue or what, but something that's really plagued just the G2 team in general for their whole career, so it's odd to see. But aside from G2, another kind of upset was obviously Quadrant going 1-3. I know a lot of people weren't high on Quadrant coming to this one. They might have been like one of the least regarded EU teams, but still I think going 1-3 is a bit of surprise for like an EU team. They didn't even get like 2 wins. And you kind of look who they lost. I mean, they lost to Secret, lost to V1, lost to TL. I guess the TL was a little bit unlucky, but yeah, I think it was a surprise that they went 1-3, and also Space Station Gaming going 2-3. I think I was personally like higher on Space Station Gaming. Like I think a lot of people were like, I was really excited to see LJ play on LAN as such a big of a rookie as he was, to see if he had it or not. And Daniel, I think, was the only person on that team that looked good the whole event. And Arsenal was supposed to be a LAN player, right? And I don't really know where he was this event, but Space Station going 2-3 was definitely a letdown, I think, in terms of NA for expectations.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. I watched Space Station play, and every single time they looked good, it was all because of Daniel. Like Daniel was literally 1v3 in KC, and like doing these insane plays, and like he scored I think 4 goals in both like game 1 and game 3, and like that's just insane stats. Like his stats for that series were absolutely insane. And I don't know, like you may think of maybe Daniel's just like ball hogging and not making Arsenal and LJ play well, but like, and that's possible because we've seen like GenG
Yeah.
perform really well as like performing as a like a team unit, right? But I don't know. I like get that man some help. Like his teammates have to be doing a little bit more, to be honest. I guess we don't know the stats exactly. Maybe he's hogging all the boosts. Like maybe actually Daniel's the problem with that team. That's possible, but I just feel like if you get like Daniel and Beast on the same team, like that team just like you wouldn't have to worry about them not making Swiss or not making out
You've
of
been
Swiss.
saying that for a year now, Blink.
Dude, you've seen them in twos. You've seen them in twos. They dominate like any twos pair. They crush them. If they on the same threes team, like they're gonna win everything. That's my opinion.
I mean, maybe Daniel's hogging the boost, but I think realistically, I don't think one person can hog enough boost to make two other players look bad. I mean, you're a pro player. You have to be able to make plays with efficient boost. That's definitely a skill you need at least one player in your team to have to make plays.
Right.
And Space Station didn't have that. I think it's a little early to I think really hone in on LJ not being a LAN player. It was his first LAN. I think expectations of some rookies to really perform at their first LAN is a little too high. Like sometimes, for some players it does take a couple LANs for them to really settle into it, to find their own and get really good. So if I was Space Station, I definitely wouldn't give up on LJ and be like, oh my gosh, we gotta get rid of him because he was bad for one LAN. Like, maybe the kid was just shocked at his first LAN and he'll, he could be good in the future, because I think he's looked really good, at least online. And if you watch any of his twos or ranked matches, he looks like cracked as always. So maybe just had LAN jitters this time. I think the bigger concern for Space Station is definitely Arsenal. I mean, he's an experienced veteran player at this point, right, in the RL scene, and he was always labeled as being the LAN player. He wasn't sick at this LAN, to my knowledge, and all the other past LANs he's played well and been sick. So that'd be a bigger concern for me, is when your veteran LAN player wasn't really bringing any presence or anything at all, and it makes you think maybe you should have kept Reddles over Arsenal. But
maybe I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they just need to work on teamwork. I don't know, because I feel like Arsenal does have skill. It's just maybe he's just not feeling threes. I don't know. He is like the more question mark. I agree.
Yeah, I think Space Station, though, not making top 8 is not really excusable. Like I think even with their troubles, they should have been able to make top 8. Like they're regarded as like a top 3 team in NA, and their skill ceiling is supposed to be one of the highest of all the teams at the event, and they looked kind of horrible for the whole thing. They didn't beat one major region team at this event. They lost 3-1 to KC from Europe, and then they lost 3-1 to FaZe Clan from NA. And then the only teams they managed to beat were Sandrock Gaming, who looked horrible, not Sandrock Gaming, Falcons, who looked horrible the whole event, and then the club, who also weren't the best at this event at all. So it wasn't like they even beat a good team or anything at all.
Yeah, were you gonna say something, Tom?
No, I was just saying, I mean, even if you're good on paper, it really comes down to basically just the day itself. And if you're not feeling it, you're just not going to do well. And I think I guess we're all speculating. Maybe they just had an off day for SSG players. Not sure what happened there.
Yeah. Well, even
if you want to win, you have to be good on the day, though.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. Even with the off day, though, thing, it's they haven't looked good this whole split, right? I feel like we haven't really seen them gel together at all. It's always been weird. It's always been just one pop off moment from Daniel carrying them, and then I don't think they've ever made top 2, right? They haven't even made a final before. So
I think top 4 was the best they did. Probably they had to make a top 4.
They made top 4 in the first 2 events.
Yeah. They definitely didn't win, because Arsenal had that tweet about being sad about not winning anything. So I know that
for sure. Yeah.
Well, it's more like they were better than the other 6th to 10th NA teams.
Which are good teams. Those are top teams of internationally from last year, at least. But
do you think Furia would have performed better if they replaced SSG?
I think they would have performed better. I think they would have made top 8. I think Furia is a LAN team, and I think they would have for sure at least made top 8. So it's a shame that they couldn't have squeaked through for online play in NA. Online NA play might actually weirdly be harder in some cases than the LAN, and some minor cases in terms of getting there. I don't know. So I feel like there's a lot of teams who didn't make it from NA who could have got top 8 at this event or done much better than what Space Station and G2 kind of showed and offered. Probably the same for Europe. I mean, they probably would have much rather had BDS there over Quadrant, but
Yeah.
I remember people were talking about that. Apparently, like BDS, I think they got like top 8s, and they like got Carmine Core in 2 top 8s or something. Like they got a really unlucky like top
They got
8
grand
brackets and
finalists, I
stuff
think.
to
Yeah.
not quite make it. But yeah, I think it was a shame BDS couldn't be there. It sucks when like the literal world champions from like 3 months ago wasn't even at the first international LAN. But it is what it is. I guess if you're not good enough, you won't make it. And then getting into the last part of the Swiss stage we can talk about is like the winners. I think the 2 3-0 teams, I wouldn't say any of them were like a big surprise. People had, high expectations for Carmine Corp coming in, and I think high expectations for Auction Esports as well. So none of the top 2 teams going 3-0 really surprised me. They both looked clean in it, and I think they should have. And then 3-4, where I talked about Secret being a surprise, but I don't think GenG was also a shocker. Number 1 seed from NA. Expected them to maybe go 3-0. The 3-1 also makes sense. And then I think more the other surprising 3-1 team, V1. Now, for me, V1 is weird. They do this literally every single event or every single LAN they make. They will come out hot at the start and look like one of the best teams at the event. They'll get your hopes up, and I was suckered into this for the whole of last season with V1 because they did this every single event. They looked super good, and they'd go 2-0 in Swiss like they did this time, hot out of the gate, make it 3-1, and then when it comes to the playoffs, and I'm going to talk a little bit into the playoffs, they always fall. So I don't know, man. V1 is, I'm not falling for it anymore.
Team, man.
Not falling it for anymore. But biggest bait of a team to ever exist from NA.
Yeah, my hypothesis is that Beast Mode's feeling it when there's no pressure, and then they perform well because Beast Mode's performing well, and Common Torment, yeah, they do well as well. Probably a little bit better in that stage, but when they hit playoffs, Beast Mode, I don't know, maybe he locks up a little bit more. Maybe he's a little bit more nervous.
You saw his tweet though, right? This LAN was different for them. He said before
he
felt different. This is gonna be the one.
It was not different.
But the result was still the same.
Narrator chimes in. It was not different. It was the exact same.
I mean, I think that's just ice difference, right? There's a reason why EU teams. You'll know they make it past the Swiss stage, and you'll know they make a good run, or at least make the other team fight for it if they lose.
That's the problem though. If Beast Mode just had one a better teammate, I feel like Calm and Torment, if they didn't have Beast Mode, they wouldn't even be at any majors. They wouldn't even be. This is harsh, I know, but I don't think they wouldn't be probably even top 12 in NA. They're good players. 12, maybe top 10 to 12, but I don't think they would make majors.
Yeah.
Beast Mode's really just the guy that carries that team, similar with Daniel and SSG. But hopefully LJ will help him a little bit more there.
Yeah.
But if Daniel just had one more teammate where he didn't have to I feel like another issue with V1 is sometimes maybe Beast Mode thinks he has to play super well and peak because everybody has those expectations on them. So he tries to do too much, and then he actually puts himself out of he does bad challenges because he thinks he has to do these crazy challenges to get possession of the ball, and then if he had another teammate that he could rely a little bit more on, I feel especially on offense, because I don't think Calm and Torment can really score by themselves without Beast Mode playmaking at all. I just feel they would give Beast Mode some time to warm up and feel better, and then after they get the ball rolling, they'll start to stop on teams, because I don't think Beast Mode's actually a player that gets super nervous on lands. I think he has the potential to be really icy, but I just don't think he has time to maybe just a slow starter when it comes to actual crowd days,
Yeah, I was gonna say I personally don't think V1's issue is not having ice. I think it's just when they get to the later stage of the tournament, when other teams start to really turn it up, they just don't have the skill ceiling to match the other teams playing well, is what I think happens for why V1 always maybe starts hot at the gate when some teams are more rusty per se, and then when it comes to actual teams have warmed up and the skill ceilings would have been reached and these tournaments start to get into it, they don't have the skill to compete, and they're not they don't lack ice. They don't if you watch their games, they're not in any position to even win. So there's no ice to be lost for them. It's just they just lose. They just lose.
They look like a different team, kind of.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a fair take.
Yeah,
I think we could go on to the playoffs now.
I was gonna say there's one last thing to talk about for the Swiss stage. Is the FaZe clan going 3-2, and then First Killer saying, "I still think we're the favorites, though. Don't get me wrong."
Did he say that?
Yeah, he said. He's they asked him after the Swiss stage. He's how do you feel going into? He's I still think we're the favorites to win. I mean,
Well,
hot
that's still
take
the
by
case.
him. I think my issue.
Yeah.
I think my issue with First Killer is like he talks a big game online or like with quotes and things, but when I actually watch the interviews he gives in person, he tries to like. It seems like he doesn't have a personality. I don't know if he just gets camera shy or what it is, but like whenever he actually gives like in-person interviews, his whole like online persona just seems to melt away, and he's just trying to like sit there all cool, like nonchalant, and just be like, yeah, you know, we're gonna win. I don't know. It's just weird
I think
to me.
he's afraid of the crowd booing him
Maybe
or saying something like, yeah, I don't know.
he's Squishy
Um,
2.0. It's a young Squishy in the making.
Possibly. I think before we wrap up the Swiss stage, I also want to talk about real quick. KCP got 9-0. They did terrible. Or 0-9. Did you see that?
They both
The
James
OC
Cheese
number?
and Pioneers both went 09.
Yeah,
Yes.
like James
Oh,
Cheese,
nice.
I was expected, but
Yeah,
Pioneers like a little bit surprising for me, just because like they did look really good last season,
did.
and then they just come in, and then they were also number 1 OC seed, and then
and
they
they
come
were
in here
young,
and they
so yeah.
yeah, they're young too. They're mechanical, but I don't know, maybe it's just like honeymoon season. I don't know. It's just weird that they
I mean, this is why
played so
OC
bad.
gets memed, right? Like they
Were
get
they the
memed for
exact
being
same
bad.
team, Pioneers? Can we check? Were they the exact same
Exact-
three players?
Yeah,
They were,
exact same three
yeah,
players. Yeah.
Same three players. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a weird one. I mean, I do think PWR is better from a experience standpoint. I mean, Torsos has found a lot of international success. I think Fever was always supposed to be nuts. He just was with like, was that the guy with CJ? So, I mean, CJ's gonna hold any team back to a degree. I mean, he retired, he admitted it, and then so like Torsos, Fever, and then I mean, Amphis is a Giga Chad. When I saw him,
Ampez
so
actually was peaking. He was playing so well.
yeah, he's peaking and he looks like a Giga Chad. So,
Looks like a
PWR
Giga
he
Chad.
does, man. He does. He was.
Not a bad looking individual.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
So.
Yeah. But like, you know, other than that, I guess it wasn't like that crazy with Swiss stage. Definitely expected Oxygen and KC to do really well, and they looked really well, like really good in the Swiss stage. But
I mean, G2 and SSG getting out was a bit of a letdown, but aside from that, I don't think it was anything crazy. I don't think Quadrant not making it was crazy. I think a lot of people didn't have them making it. So.
Yep.
And then so we can get into the playoffs. The playoffs was I think it was pretty exciting overall. There were a few.
There were a lot of
bit
upsets actually.
Snooze stories, but for the most part, it was really good. Rocket League in the final was really good. But we'll start with the quarters. So we'll start with quarterfinal one. We'll go listen that has in Wikipedia, not the list they played it on stream. But we have Carmine Core and Moist. So Moist won this one 4-1. I know Blink watched this one. I was making dinner, but what do you think of this series?
Yeah, I watched it. It was fun. it was nice to see Casey lose because like I'm gonna be honest, I'm not a big Materia fan. But mostly just because like I just wanted Moist. I think it's more the fact I'm an Astral fan. I like Astral a lot. And they were playing really well. Rise of Joyo, alright. They're like a little bit too big of egos.
Okay.
Yeah. I like a little bit more humble players. That's why I like apparently Jack too. Like people who don't like, you know, try to like beef as hard about like especially inter-regional stuff. So but yeah, no, that was a good match. Like Moist was playing really well. I think KC, I think I mentioned this to you guys in a group chat, but KC they were going for like the only play they were going for was like air dribble bumps.
They're
like
the
you could
phase
tell
of EU.
Yeah, but even like FaZe has like stopped doing that as much. So like I think FaZe actually does too many infield passes from what I've seen lately. I don't know, but like obvious ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they were just like, and then Moist were just like countering. They were playing really creative Rocket League. They were playing really well. I think they were like pretty close games. It was like they're all like 1-goal game differences, but it seemed like even though those were the scorelines, like it was like Moist was winning like pretty capably.
Moist just had the possession and they felt like they were in control of the match. Is probably
Astral was also playing nuts, to be honest. Like he's playing really well. I mean, we saw that in the Swiss stage against G2 as well. But yeah, Astral was playing really well, and that was fun. It's always a fun series in my opinion when those two go up against each other because you know there's history there, and like Vetsura leaving Moist to go to KC, and then like that's another reason why I like seeing KC lose is because like Vetsura literally split up the team, went to KC, and then he lost against the team he left, right? Like that's who doesn't love seeing that? Like
also
that's
seeing
hilarious.
the KC fan base lose when they were watching live in person.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. Yeah. and then they just disappeared after that event, after that series.
Yeah, the
So.
crowd looked kind of empty in Europe. The European
That
crowd. I was
section?
told
Yeah.
that would never happen. I was told European people would never leave events and never boo NA players, but that seemed to happen this event. That's crazy. And then they just blame it on the French. That's even more wild.
So funny.
I guess it's if EU does it, it's just don't worry, it's just France. No one else does it. But if NA does it, it's like we can't just single out the fans who do it. It's just NA as a whole is the worst region ever. But we won't get too much into that.
Right?
But just a quick snippet on that from the RL community. But
yeah, that was funny. We saw a lot of tweets though about that. So I guess we're not alone.
Yeah, maybe we'll talk more about it next week. And then our next quarterfinal match was Team Secret and V1. I think this was maybe the most boring playoff match there was. Like V1 just looked awful and Team Secret won 4-1. There's not really much more to it. I think I stopped watching after the third or fourth game because V1 just wasn't going to win. So yeah, it's just like there was no hope. So it was awful to watch. And
they were playing bad. Even Beastful was like missing a lot.
Yeah, it was just good on Team Secret for like forcing them to play bad and win it, but yeah, V1 looked awful and not really much to talk about in that one, I think. And now we get to the more fun quarterfinals, the game 7s of the lower half of the bracket. We had Oxygen versus FaZe Clan, and I think I was surprised FaZe won because I remember watching this one. Oxygen took the 2 first games pretty handily for the most part.
Yeah, they kind of wrecked them in the first 2 games.
I thought the series was going to be like a 4-1 after that point, and then FaZe. They kind of wrecked the 2 games after that. The next ones, they won 2-0, 6-1. They like had a bit of a snapback, bit of a clap back to Oxygen, and then it was a great series from there on out. And I think Mist looked really good in the series with FaZe. I know he was allegedly sick, but it didn't look like it at all. I mean, man was playing really solid for them. First Killer definitely had some crazy moments there. He's a really insane like triple tap dunk goal at one point.
He went off the ceiling.
Yeah, he went like straight up, came down. It was like that was really cool. And then Mist had like a lot of just like huge saves on the goal line. And I mean, Auction looked good too for the most part. I think it was just a really good series of Rocket League. I mean, Jorah looked as good as always. But FaZe managed to. They had ice, and they had some ice in this one against EU, the Game 7 win. But
yeah, that series surprised me. I definitely thought after the first 2 games like there's no way Oxygen's losing this. Like they're back in form. Like they literally like did amazing in the Swiss stage. They're on home territory. Like there's no way they're losing this. So then like they take the time out, and then I come back and I think I stopped watching a little bit after the second game because I was like I don't want to really watch FaZe get slaughtered because they've already disappointed me enough.
Yeah.
And then they're winning like 5-1 in like game 4. I'm like what the heck? And then Oxygen win the next game, but like just I think it was Mist like starting to play better. I think he wasn't playing as well in the first 2 games, but I think that team they looked back in form. Honestly, like their defense was looking really good too in those later games, and like that's the phase I want to see.
Yeah, I think the only thing we can talk about more in the semifinal. The only like issue I had with FaZe Clan was just I think Sypical looked bad the whole tournament. He looked bad in the sense of that when I watched FaZe Clan played, I didn't realize he was really on the pitch. There wasn't many moments where I went, oh, that's Sypical playing, or oh, there's Sypical. I kind of like he just seemed invisible to me on the pitch, and if you did see him, I think it was more often bad things than it was good things being seen. But that was an interesting one to me.
That's definitely we can talk a little bit about that more in the FaZe GenG match, but Sip was not looking the best. To be honest.
And then our last quarterfinal match, maybe one of the most exciting ones, was GenG versus TL, and this. After looking back on it, I think this might have been GenG's closest to elimination. I mean, they were down 3-1 in the series, and they had the ice. They had the NA ice. They came back down 3-1 in the series and won it 4-3. It was an exciting one. A lot of 1-goal games in this series, a couple overtimes, but it was the start of their run.
They didn't look good either. Like at the beginning of the. I was up at like 5 a.m. to watch this. By the way, I like woke up at 4:45 because I was like, I'm bored. I'm gonna watch Rocket League, and I saw the first couple games. I'm like, they're kind of slow. They're not looking the best. I think it was especially Chronic. I think it was the first 2 games. Like Chronic kind of sold a little bit. Like he missed a couple easy stuff. Or actually, no, I think that might have been the first game of GenG versus Moist.
I can't remember. Game of GenG Moist, he had straight bagels. But...
Yeah. But yeah, no, they definitely brought it back, which was really impressive. Like 3-1 comeback is like essentially a reverse sweep in a best of 5, right? So
yeah, no, down 3-1 in best of 7 is really hard to come back from, and they they did it. So that's probably where the resolve happened, and it was probably
because
big.
they're mostly an EU team. No,
No,
NA
they're
team would have.
an NA team.
No,
We'll get
no
into that in
NA
the
team would have
finals.
come back.
We'll
from
get
a
into that in the
3-1.
finals. They're an NA team. They're an
FaZe
NA team.
pretty much did. FaZe pretty much did.
Yeah,
FaZe
kind
almost
of.
did too, and
In a way,
2-0,
like
2-2.
getting like wrecked
Yeah.
in your
it
first
was
two
close
games was
for
pretty hard.
FaZe.
Yeah.
But FaZe are like the EU swayers, though. They've had history of just eliminating EU teams.
Which is
with
weird.
ice.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
weird.
the fourth clan lives on, but we'll get to
Yeah.
that in a bit. But the fourth
Yeah.
clan lives on. I mean, we might as well get into the semifinals now. But the first one we had was the rematch. Moist and Team Secret played in the Swiss stage, and Team Secret won. They beat Moist, and then this time Moist got the revenge on them. I think this time Moist was just kind of much more in form, and I mean, they looked great, honestly, the whole tournament. It looked like they were firing on all cylinders, and I'm honestly impressed that Team Secret managed to take 2 games off them, because I thought it was going to be like a 4-0, 4-1 sweep. So, good on Team Secret for taking a couple games off them, but I just think Moist was kind of rolling too hard for Team Secret to really ever look too threatening. They just kind of looked to control the whole series, Moist, for this one from when I watched.
Yeah, from what I saw, like Team Secret was, I think they're actually playing pretty well. I don't think they're hitting Fury levels of like cohesion. I think mostly have to work on cohesion. I noticed a lot of times they're like awkward, and they were like almost double committing on things, but they were able to like counterattack pretty well. I know they have the mechanics, right? Like those SAM mechanics. They have some pretty nuts players that can do crazy things. KV1 was playing actually really well in this series, especially defensively, which is why he got the defensive MVP, I'm guessing. But yeah, just Moist was too much. I think Team Secret was still a little bit nervous and like not playing fully all together. But I think they have potential if they can clean those things up.
Yeah,
Team Secret already exceeded expectations, and Moist were probably just a better team. Like Moist have like far more experience. They've had far greater RLCS results over the past year, and I think the better team just won.
Yeah, they are land planners too.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's really hard too for SAM teams and like Oceania teams to get. They don't get as consistently good scrims as all these other EU and NA teams, so their consistency, especially when they go like deeper into tournaments, is probably much harder for them than it is for teams from major regions, just because they're not used to like playing that many quality teams on that many given days in a row, sort of thing. They're probably just used to dominating their scrims in their respective region, and it's sometimes hard to like you can get a couple upsets and go far, but I think it's why we really see a lot of like these SAM teams kind of bottle out top 6, top 4, because it's just really hard to like keep staying consistently and keep consistently upsetting kind of over and over again with each of the different teams. But I think Team Secret looked very good. I think they played as high to their skill ceiling as they could have for this tournament. So good on them for getting top 4 and making the SAM region proud.
And then moving on to our next semifinal, where we have Fourth Killer from Fourth Clan. The meme lives on.
You knew FaZe was losing this one. FaZe, of course, had to come forth. Like if FaZe needs to find a way to skip the semifinals, they need to find a way to skip the semifinals. I don't like they need to hope for some like double Elam bracket and they just go through the winners or something. But I don't know what it is. But this team,
we saw the matchup was like, I don't think the meme will live on.
Yeah,
so they won the first game. And they got smoked for 4 games straight, and that was it. That's the series.
Yep.
I mean, if you watched NA, I think GenG would be the clear favorites in this series to beat FaZe. So personally, I don't think it was a surprise GenG won this one because we saw it a few times in NA, but 4-1 kind of sucked. FaZe was just once again. I think this is where we saw more of like FaZe had a weak member in typical, and they just kind of got like exploited a lot from it and lost a lot from just not everyone on their team was firing at all cylinders. Well, everyone from GenG was.
Yeah, they lost the form. They looked really good, like I said, against Oxygen, but then like they did not look like the same team going into the GenG match. I don't know, maybe it's in their heads, like fourth clan, maybe they got into their heads. I think their mental might not be as great as we think. Like I think First Killer, he's an amazing player, but maybe when he gets to that fourth state or that the fourth place area, he gets like nervous and like that whole like thing of Fourth Killer gets in his head a little bit. But even then, like I don't think like yes, he wasn't playing like amazing, but I think it was definitely more typical. I guess like he didn't seem like at all what he can play to. maybe his mentals honestly could be holding them back the most. He was like whiffing a lot of balls, like
They
from what I've
were.
seen.
Hey man, like he
it's-
whiffed a lot. First killer whiffed a few too in that series.
Mist was playing fine, to be honest. Like he was playing pretty well. But yeah, fourth killer, it's crazy. I
It's
think honestly, it
consistent.
might.
It's so consistent. It's actually nuts. It's actually nuts. But
Yeah, I think we could kind of almost go back to the Arsenal tweet. If like he'd rather miss like all the majors or get like he'd rather miss Worlds than like and be like at first in the major. Maybe that's what first killer is thinking right now. Like how Arsenal like would rather miss the major
Yeah.
but get first in the regional. But yeah, because like that's actually crazy. He got fourth at fall major in like literally a year ago, fourth at LA, fourth at London, fourth at World.
And they
That's
come fourth
five in a row.
regionals.
How do you do 5 fourths in a row?
he's
at
literally
majors?
only
That's
gotten fourth at
insane.
lands he's participated in. He's only gotten fourth at lands he's been in, which is crazy. That's actually nuts.
I've never seen a stat like that.
That should actually be like do you guys ever watch that like esport YouTube video? They should make like a video of like fourth.
They should make a video on
killer.
him. Yeah.
He's not done yet. Wait for
That'd
the
haunt
streak
him.
to end. Next land he's gonna come fourth. Like maybe it continues.
Yeah.
And then the last one we had the grand final of GenG versus Moist. The NA team won. First of all, it's I'll get it twisted.
Yeah.
NA won this event. It was a really good final in my opinion. I thought it was a nice clash of play styles. Moist has a lot of team plays too, but they're a little more like favored towards like I think more solo plays than GenG at least. But they still do a lot of team plays and a lot of pre-jumps and a lot of good defense. And then GenG is a little more towards like synergy. I don't even know if it's like passing particularly, but it's like unique passing play style that I've like don't see that often, which is really cool and fun to watch. And
They're just synergize so well.
yeah,
Man.
GenG ended up winning it, and I thought it was a really cool finals. A lot of good goals, a lot of unique goals, and honestly, it was just awesome to watch. It was a great final.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I was correct in predicting GenG to win it all.
Yeah.
You guys came close with having KC and Moist in the grand finals, but I just wanted to point that out.
I think we had Liquid. Liquid. Yeah.
We were not that
Oh,
close.
it was okay. Well, either way, I looked into the future. I saw that GenG was winning it all. Put it down as my prediction. You know,
it's on the true NA faithful. The true NA faithful.
You guys said it was copium that
GenG
would make it that far, so
I thought it was.
Look what happened.
Don't
I think we had GenG both coming fourth, and I think we had them losing to like a hot EU team.
Yeah.
But GenG, man, I think like the EU teams didn't even like maybe the EU teams didn't peak today, like weren't playing amazing, but
I thought Moist was playing pretty good.
Moist was playing probably to their peak, to like they played the best they've ever played, you know. KC, I think even if they played their best, like maybe Moist would have still beat them.
Moist
you know?
would have beat them.
Yeah, because like KC, like I think it's a little bit overrated. I think Vatira is a little bit overrated. People are calling him best player in the world. I don't think that's true at all. I think I think Beast Mode Daniel are like two of the best players in the world. I don't.
Maybe it's because Vatira renamed himself to Gotira, and then you go God to him.
Yeah, maybe. But like, man, just GenG, the way they play is so satisfying to watch because they're just such a solid team. Their defense is super solid. Their offense, like the way they pass to each other, and they keep like, they don't like. You never feel scared with like any of them being alone on the back end. Like it's also I think attributed to Chronic. He's actually insane on defense in my opinion, from what I've seen for at least a rookie. Like he barely makes any mistakes. All of his challengers are super clean. Maybe he learned that from Mac Abjack and Noli a little bit, but like absolutely like my favorite team right now for sure.
I believe
this is his first win too.
Yeah, it's his first win
for Chronic.
I'd love to see. I know that this team wasn't at the event, but I'd love to see GenG play BDS or the Monkey Moon Extra Saiku team because like I feel like when they won Worlds, the BDS team, their big thing was like they were such a sound like rotational team as well. And I think it'd be really cool to see like kind of GenG play that style in BDS and kind of see what happened as a result. And hopefully we get to see that maybe at the next major. But yeah, GenG was just unique. I mean, at least in Game 7, I I wish the casters put more emphasis
Game
on
6?
it,
Yeah.
or game
Game
six.
6.
I forget what it was, but there was oh yeah, game 6. Sorry, game 6. I wish casters put more emphasis on it, but like there was the last kind of couple goals there. The second goal, I remember just because it was so like amazing. It was like Noli made a pass. I don't know if he did it on purpose or not, but like instead of shooting it, most players would
No,
shoot
it was
it.
on purpose. Yeah.
I think it was on purpose. And, like most players would shoot it from his situation. He like skyrocketed the ball over to like Apjack on the sidewall, and then Apjack like purposely like passed it all the way back to Chronic, who went like bar down for them to go up 2-1. And like personally, I just don't think any other team at the event would have done that. I think they're like the only team who kind of had plays like that set, and like we're actually doing plays like that overall. Like I haven't seen
There's
like many
synergy
teams
too.
do that
That
at
was
all.
so high risk too, because you already have someone on the wall,
Yeah.
two
Yeah.
people up in the opponent's half, and if they didn't score, they were getting counterattacked and scored on. That was going to be GG.
It's so smart though, because like
Yeah.
the opponents always think like, oh, like Noli's just gonna shoot it there, and they're like pre-jumping already for the shot, etc. And then he just like whips it off to the side, and the opponent's supposed to be thinking like, what's going on? And then like whips back, and it's just like it really like they found a way to like kind of surprise and break through this immense like park the bus pre-jumping defense meta that has evolved for the last year, and it's really I just really like seeing it. And then the last goal, not like as good as the second one, but like again, it was just like Noli could have taken the shot, but instead he just laid it off to Abjak, and they got a goal with 4 seconds left. So they're just really good at like passing plays or finding ways around these like pre-jumping defenders to score. And I really like seeing it, that they're a team that kind of like I think they all have like really good individually skilled mechanically, but they prioritize like the synergy playstyle more because they know it's more effective than like a solo double flip reset play for the most part. And it's just really, I think that's like where the meta should go for Rocket League, and I also think it makes it a much more exciting meta to watch for the fans as well. So I hope it continues to do well and more teams start to kind of like follow GenG along the path there, because I think it'd be a lot of fun to watch. But
Yeah, I think in the current meta, it's just that teams are getting much more better at defending solo plays, especially when you have 2 people back. You wouldn't just send one to rush it. Like, oh, he does a foot reset, like, into air dribble, into maybe another foot reset. Like, okay, good, you beat one person, but there's more defenders waiting for you. And, like, teams have learned how to counter that. So definitely, I agree. It's, like, so much more interesting to watch a counter to that defense, which is to do surprise passing plays when no one's expecting it.
yeah, they're not just infield passes. They're like off the ceiling reverse into an infield pass. Like they're just crazy plays that I really haven't seen many teams ever really do. And I hope they're doing it intentionally. It looks like they are. And I really hope they
I
are.
feel like
it's intentional.
I feel like it's intentional, but like they're not like thinking super hard about it. It's
Yeah,
almost
yeah.
like it's just instinct to them, you know?
It
And that's why it's so fluid, I feel like. It's not obvious that they're gonna do it all the time. They attack, they create pressure, they create these openings, and then they, instead of shooting on these openings, they're going for like an air dribble, which would like allow their opponents to like recover in the time that they go for the air dribble bump or whatever. They pass their teammates and like create more pressure, and just like they're just such a good team. I love the way they play, and like it's just such a clean and refreshing play of Rocket League. You know, like passing players I think are the most fun to watch. I don't care about air dribble bumps anymore. I don't care about triple flip resets. You could pogo and I still wouldn't care. I would still care more about like a really nice passing play. You know.
Yeah.
So unless you're like and like Inside was saying, like unless the defense is so good against guarding these air dribble bumps and like like flip resets and air dribbles in general that like you need to do these passing plays. So, like unless you're G2, like these aren't gonna work on you. So yeah.
Yeah, now that being said,
Great,
GenG still goes for like, solo plays and things, but they do a really good job of just like mixing it up, and other teams just don't to the like level and degree they do. And then I think we can get into like the last part of the segment. We'll touch briefly on just some of the quick roster changes we think should happen kind of from the major as a result. We'll have another video later covering more like once we start to hear rumors, because it's going to be roster rumor time soon, and we'll start to cover out. We'll just float some of our ideas from this major. And do you want to start with the Blink? I know you had some ideas for some teams.
Okay, let's look at I guess we could talk results a little bit too, right? I also want to quickly say GenG winning, I think, was like one of the best outcomes for like I think mostly NA. Like even though they're not fully EU team or a fully NA team of players like nationalities, I think if this doesn't wake up like teams in NA to start taking chances on these up and coming players like Chronic and focus more on team passing plays and not like doing stupid stuff like just only air dribbling, like this is like just I feel like it just goes to show everybody that this is what like players and teams have to go and do, you know. So good on GenG winning. I also really like the players themselves, and Ollie and Napjack are great individuals.
We have to keep in mind that Chronic's been up and coming for a couple years now, and
Yeah.
like some people who take chances on players that like they haven't had any previous results, so you can't really discard the thought of adding them to your team. But maybe that's why the other NA teams didn't want to take on Chronix. They saw that he had no previous ROCS results or anything notable, so that's why they didn't choose to team with him. But
yeah, I mean he made top 8 with like randoms, right? Like Knight and Two Piece, two other players. Well, Two Piece for sure I think should be on a top
that was
team.
like
We're giving a
one to
chance,
two
but...
regionals maybe, but for the most part he's been relatively unsuccessful up until this point where GenG picked him up and instantly won the first major.
Too, right?
Yeah.
Well, he's a twos grinder. Like
Yeah, he played twos.
He's really high up on the leaderboard when he got picked up. I think that was another reason.
He's
yeah,
a twos and six man's grinder.
My point is he's not an up and comer though. He's
like not like Daniel for sure. No, I agree.
Yeah.
No, he wasn't like he was around for quite a bit before he found his success.
Which is like exactly why like this NA culture is just so bad for picking up new recruits. But that's like a little bit of another tangent. But I just think GenG winning was like great for everybody. Even if you're like an EU fan, like you had two British players who came over to NA and they won on this team. Like you gotta be happy.
They're a
right?
North American team.
Yeah, I think they're a North American team in my book. But
they're that A team.
Well, I think if you're EU, you can have some valid copium. That's all I'm saying.
You could be happy for them if you're EU, but you can't be claiming they won the major. They did not, and they won it.
Yeah.
EU copium. They're just mad they don't import well. Just get more money, EU. It's time.
It's time to fundraise.
You gotta draw the players to your region if you want to keep them. But yeah. So then I mean I can start with the roster changes. I mean I have a couple ideas. I think I'll just go forward backwards. I don't think Moy should make any changes. I don't think GenG should make any changes. Shocking. I think Team Secret, because they did so well, I mean, I think they'd be really dumb to make any change, especially with the region they're in, so they should stay the same. I think the first team, I think that should at least explore. I don't know if they should or not. I think they should explore looking to a change would be FaZe. I think if they can pick up the right player, I think they should try to replace Sipical, but if they can't find the right player, they should just run with Sipical for another split or so. But I think FaZe is definitely a team that should at least look into the options as far as like who you should pick up. I think it should only be like a sure thing for FaZe Clan. I don't know if I'd like take a risk now if I were them, just because they did do decently well. Like I'm looking at like a Justin from NRG, or like if you could get Daniel or Beast Mode, something like that along the lines for FaZe Clan. Otherwise, like I wouldn't personally take a risk on a player. I don't think FaZe should with their current. Give Sibical at least one more split to prove if he's good or not. And then you can debate whether or not you should take a risk. But yeah, FaZe is the first one for me that I think should maybe make a change.
I think they should take a risk if it's a clear upgrade over Sibico. If it's just a side grade, and then they come 8th instead of 4th, like I think that would be a really dumb idea. But
yeah, I think I definitely agree with all those. Like definitely, Moist, GenG, Secret, no way they should make roster changes. I don't think even Oxygen should make a roster change.
No, I agree with that. I don't think Oxygen should.
Maybe not even like Team Liquid, because like those teams were close. They were close to making these like semifinals, and I know like the individual talent on those teams are nuts. We saw it from Oxygen in the Swiss, and even in like the beginning of their quarterfinals. But FaZe, I agree. I think Sip. I don't know if it's just like the mental that's like just dragging him out. Like I know he can like when FaZe plays well. When all three players are playing well, when they're all like playing cohesively together, they looked even better in my opinion than like GenG, like did today. Like I've seen them play like really well together. I don't know if maybe it's the opponents are able to like stop that, but I think it's mostly just their mental on land.
Yeah.
But I definitely agree that they should probably only trade Sip if they can get like for sure like Daniel or Beast Mode or Justin. I don't know if a 2-piece would be like, for example, a good player to maybe take a chance on. I think only. Yeah, they should probably wait though if they're gonna take a chance to see like if they can't make a final still, like maybe they should try exploring new recruits.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Auction TL are both kind of newer teams, so they did pretty well at this international land. They showed a lot of upside. I don't think there's any reason for them to be too hasty about a change yet. I think it'd kind of be dumb. They should give each other more time to see how good they can get. Carmine Corps is kind of, I think, in the same boat. They're pretty new. I mean, yeah, their quarterfinal wasn't the strongest, but I wouldn't be hasty about making a change there. I mean, they've looked good regionally, strength-wise, and it wasn't like a horrible major. And then V1, this is a team that
V1.
maybe we're just picking on NA teams, but I think it's just the situation because NA teams, for whatever reason, don't make changes in the summer like EU teams do. I don't know why, but they don't. They don't make changes in the off season, and V1 yet again does bad in major. Exact same 3 guys like they did all of last year. So maybe it's time to make a change there. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. You want to keep beast mode. I think whether you kick Torment or Calm should be dependent on who you're picking up. Personally, I don't think one is necessarily that much better than the other. They both offer different things to the team. I think it just depends on who you pick up, on which one you keep and which one goes. And yeah, that's my opinion on V1. And I think they should maybe look for a chance, whether it's, you know, Two Piece or Justin or, you know, Daniel or Parth or some like up and comer. I think they could take a chance here. They got to make some type of change, but
yeah, if you're right. No, I think they should. They, even if they can't get like a clear upgrade like Daniel or Justin, I think they need to make a change. Like try to get that 2-piece. Try to get maybe Stealth, maybe Knight. I'm not sure exactly what the right recruit is.
I don't know
the bubble, but they can.
But
yeah, they can do the research. They can see who's been playing well. I think 2-piece would definitely be an upgrade. We've seen him play really well, especially like that one phase quarterfinal. He can play that well. He's been on the team with like, you know, Chronic and Daniel on randoms before, and he's made top 8 just like Chronic. I think he has the same potential as Chronic. So definitely version 1 needs to make an upgrade. Because I don't know, it would be really cool seeing Beast Mode actually be able to pop off with another teammate. That'd be really cool.
I think they should also make an upgrade just for the sake of mental. Otherwise, having the exact same thing happen to them, like it's gonna be like a total mentally. They're like, oh, the same thing's gonna happen again. We're gonna do well, make the major, and then completely flop in playoffs. Whereas a roster change would definitely improve their mental and maybe rejuvenate them a little bit. Let's go to the next teams. We have G2 Esports, Space Station Gaming. Thoughts on those?
I think they should.
Arsenal might be getting kicked.
I think they should both make changes. My thought on G2 is, I think they should make a change. I don't think they will, and I also would have no idea who they should get rid of. Like my gut would say Chicago, but personally, I don't know if there's a right answer on who should they get rid of. And I think like G2, I think they should only make a change literally if they could get Justin, or like the same thing as FaZe, like only make a change if you can get like Justin, Daniel, or Beast Mode or something. But I don't know, something just seems weird with G2.
Getting 2-piece might be kind of cool on G2 too. I know I'm only saying 2-piece. That's only like
he's just the biggest. I think he's just the biggest like potential in NA right now in terms of raw skill. Yeah. That's not already on top team that you know is not moving. So
I'm sure there's some other players that are probably like also would be amazing. We just don't really know them that well. But yeah, I agree. G2 and SSG, I think both should make changes. I know it's a little bit early for SSG, but they should explore. I think I don't know. Do you think SSG needs to make a change more desperately than like G2? Are they in like a similar situation as V1, or?
I at least think SSG is more clear. Like they're definitely getting rid of Arsenal if they make a change. G2's like I'd have no idea. I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer for who G2 would get rid of, but I think SSG is a lot more clear. Like they'd get rid of Arsenal and then bring someone else in. I don't know who or what, but that's what I would try to do if I were SSG. Like if you could get Justin on SSG, I think that would be insane. Like I think that would be better than Furia.
Insane.
That would be crazy.
I think for G2, even if they made a couple roster changes, even if they rebuilt everything, as long as they fly that G2 logo, I think they're going to be chokers. It's just
the org. The org.
It's just the org problem. I think they're just cursed. Like we've had the strongest iteration of G2 roster lately, and they got absolutely demolished in the World Championship finals. Like I think it's something with the org. You could kick everyone on G2, and they would choke every time.
They give us Beast Mode first killer.
It doesn't matter what esport it is. Rocket League is no special, nothing different. But yeah, I definitely do agree that SSG, they're like 80% chance making a move and getting rid of Arsenal for someone better.
Do you think they
I do
actually
think
are
it'd
gonna
be-
make one?
I don't think
Or you
they
think
are,
they just
but
should?
I think they should. I think
Yeah.
NA teams tend to make moves a split later than they should, so SSG will make a change
Yeah.
in winter. That's my guess.
Okay, maybe next split, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna make a change either. I think Daniel and LJ and even the org themselves would be like a little bit like hesitant on something like that.
They don't
But
want
I
to
do
be
think
any more hot in water with the community than they already are. So, and
Yeah,
Arsenal's a
and
big
Arsenal-
content
getting rid
creator.
of Riddles.
I was just gonna say that. Yeah,
Yeah.
Arsenal still has like quite a bit of following too. So they like I'm not 99% sure they won't kick him, but I think they should at least explore like phase at the very least their options if like a new agent becomes like if Beast Mode like let's say Beast Mode gets fed up on V1 and somehow
Yeah.
his contract like
He's
works out where
gonna
he can
go
leave.
pro in basketball again, so he decides to retire.
Yeah, and then the winter split he's gonna come on to SSG
Yeah, he's gonna
and
come
win
back.
like
and
Worlds
he's
with
gonna-
Daniel.
Yeah, he's gonna come back.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, but yeah, and then G2, I think actually, I don't think you kick a topic even though he hasn't been great on LAN. I think it's the JNAPs and Chicago pair. I know it's the core foundation of their teamwork and their passing and stuff, but I think Atomic has learned it, and I think if they just replace one of those two, maybe the choke factor leaves if they pick up
Yeah.
someone like more icy. I don't know. It could be like a mental thing with those two being on the same
I
team
think you have to
together.
explore splitting up the duo if you want to try to change G2's like base identity. I think your best bet would be to split up the duo rather than get rid of
Yeah.
Atomic. So I think that's fair.
Yeah.
And then
One-
you go first. I was at a different topic.
Yeah, I was just gonna say one last team before we,
Oh
because
yeah.
I know we
yeah.
also didn't talk about Quadrant. I think
Yeah.
if they were to make a change, it would probably be Relating Wave.
They
Unfortunately,
probably should. Quadrant probably
Yeah.
should. Yeah.
I think they should. I don't know who they actually. I think there's a lot of players in the EU that they could probably pick up.
Probably
so
a lot of
I don't
EU
think they'd
players.
even.
Yeah. I don't follow the EU scene as deeply, so I don't know. But I'm sure with how I see EU roster moves happen, there's someone somewhere that they could get to make a change. And then as far as like minor region teams go, I don't think Falcon should make a change. They just had a bad major. They can dust it off. And
I
go
actually think
back
they should
again.
make a change.
Oh, you think they should?
I
Oh,
actually
that's a
think
hot
they
take.
should. I think they should get rid of Ocalad. And I think they should, because there's so many cracks. Like
It's true.
I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but like they have like Nupo if Rule 1 decides to roll with their other third man.
Yeah.
With like the Kaliers and Roas. But and like there's also like Dark, who seems kind of
The
crazy
Twitter clips
mechanically.
are nuts. Yeah.
Yeah. I know like it doesn't always translate out perfectly, but there's potential there.
Is he really
And,
gonna pogo in the major?
Hey,
No,
that'd be
Is
sick.
that really gonna happen?
That'd be cool though.
That'd be
That'd be
cool.
cool.
And then
So
yeah, rest of the teams though I don't know. Like I don't follow Sam too much, but Club probably shouldn't make a change. I don't think Pioneers will. I mean James T definitely isn't because they're all imports in the Ocean or whatever region, or APAC region. So
yeah.
And PWR
Like,
did
those
better
teams, like
than
if they made a
expected.
change, who would they even get, right? Like they're already the
I don't know,
top teams in their region.
some cracked player, I guess, up and coming. But like, I guess Club would want someone from Secret, which isn't happening. So, and
Yeah, that's not
PWR
happening.
did better than expected. So I don't. Obviously, they're going to stay together for the split because they were super close. So
Are we gonna talk about other teams in NA that should
No, I
make
think-
a
I think
change
we
that
can
didn't
wait.
make a major?
we can wait for some roster rumors before we talk
Rumors,
about
yeah.
those. We can talk about that next week.
Yeah, I think we mentioned like Energy and Fiora roughly that.
We talked about the what was it? Just Furia or the whatever the name was.
yeah. Infuriating
Infuriated. Yeah.
or something like that. Yeah.
No, I think that's good for this episode. It's about an hour, so we're good to wrap it up here. If you made it this far, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next week for episode 8.